We are here in chambers. And Noel, will you call the roll? Here.
John Wall.
Here.
David Horowitz.
Present.
Peter Talbot.
Here.
Sylvia Nichols. David Felber. Jim James. Sandy Pavano.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Once again, welcome. And we go to number 3, which is our public communications sections. We have nothing like we sometimes normally do in this, other than any members of the public who may wish to come forward and discuss anything on the agenda or whatever. Seeing no rush to the podium, we move now to the approval of the minutes for April 11th, 2023, April 2023, which was a budget workshop. The other one was a council meeting, and the April 20th and April 24th and the April 26th, which again were all budget related workshops. We have a motion for Mr. Talbot. May I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Welcome, Mr. Velleber. Minutes, we'll all vote on that. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously of those present. We now move to consent. Mr. Bowery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution 050923-1, the consent calendar for May 9, 2023.
We have a motion. May I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Jenks. There's typically not construction, so I'm not anticipating any. I will call for a vote on this. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously of those present. We now move from items removed from consent. There have been none. We are on to old business, which we begin with Bartlam Park South update. I will call on Town Manager Sean Kimball and or together with John Mylone, if you'd like to speak anything. Feel free to bring us up to date. There's been progress.
There has been progress. Happy to say, as you'll see, the construction fencing is up along Route 10 and around the construction area. Dorita and Sons have begun their construction. They've done some earthwork. If you saw earlier today, they're starting to move a little earthwork around. Their wetlands protection controls and everything are being put in place as well. So there's a lot of work kind of being done, maybe that you can't quite see, but they are underway. We have our first few submittals that we'll be reviewing. Both staff have been reviewing, and one that I'll be discussing with the council, which will be a potential alternate for the bathroom submittal, slight alternate in terms of a different manufacturer. And again, up to us whether we want, but with a cost savings, and we want to make sure it still meets the intent, the design intent for the town. So a few items you'll be hearing about here in the coming days and weeks, but it's on schedule. And other than a little bit of rain, a lot of rain last week, a little bit more progress here now. And we had our first on-site construction meeting middle of last week. So things are on track. Happy to answer any questions.
Yes, piles of dirt always look good when they don't belong where they are, and that's, I think, kind of so shines. Anything, John, that you're aware of that you want to speak to?
I appreciate Sean's update. I haven't been actively involved in it, but I'm just curious, Sean, when they kicked off construction, did they give any indication of whether they're going to meet the town's expectation with construction, or they intend to try and advance it? I just was curious.
They are early on. Again, they're probably careful not to overpromise, but they are, if the weather holds, they're hoping to have, well, we won't be ready for full use, but their plan would be to have the turf field portion of the construction done first and potentially done as early as this fall. But again, that will still remain an active construction site and probably won't be fully usable, but we'll be able to kind of monitor the progress of the overall projects.
Okay. Anyone else? Sean, I did have a question. Sort of on a week-to-week or day-to-day, who is liaising with the construction parties? Is it someone in the engineering department?
Yep.
Or...
The primary contact is our town engineer, Merritt Comment.
Okay.
It is really a team effort at construction meetings. I've attended, again, we've had one, but I attended the first and plan to attend particularly the monthly construction meeting, the first Tuesday of every month. in anticipation that we'll have some updates for the council the following Tuesday as part of the thinking there. Our public works staff and also our park and rec director remain involved also in those meetings just to make sure we understand any coordination issues. We'll have Fall Festival we've already had meetings on that, of course, to coordinate how Fall Festival will work. But it's just kind of staying in close contact. And so far the contractor's been great to work with and
Terrific.
nothing but positives.
I just had one question, and it's probably something that Mr. Gala could probably answer better, but with Little League and everything starting and having, remove those fields, we're starting to use some of the school fields. And I just wanted to find out an update on, are they ready and to go, and have they been used and that?
So I can answer that. I can also speak from firsthand experience as a father of an 8-year-old in a little league league here in town. We are using some of the fields we weren't previously using, and a huge credit. I'm glad you mentioned that. Credit to Public Works who restored and readied some of the fields that were kind of underused in the past few years. Chapman School, for instance, is where one of the leagues is primarily holding their outdoor practices, including just this evening, and their games on Saturdays as well. Doolittle was restored more last year, and Highland as well. So again, we've been more use of the school fields than probably in past years, but numbers are up, and you'd hear that from John Golick, both in softball, both of the diamond sports, the softball and baseball in particular, kind of reversing a trend of a few years ago. The need is up, so we're responding to the need, and again, kudos to Public Works and the grounds crews that have restored some of those fields to their past glory.
And I can also speak to, I'm not sure if this communication goes to all, but probably goes to all coaches. I know I'm copied on communications that detail field conditions and all that kind of stuff as they occur and if there's cancellations. So John Golick and his people are communicating for sure with users. So that should help. Yes, John.
If I might, Sean, I know we'll bring our subcommittee from the council back together for critical items during construction. And maybe it'd be worthwhile for us to at least get together every other month or every quarter as we go through this, just so we have an opportunity to stay connected to the project. David and Peter were invaluable, I think, along with the town staff. And so it'd be nice to maintain that connection, if that's all right.
That's excellent and oversight on my part. I think thank you, Sean. John, for bringing that up to Sean. We can definitely get that done.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the plan going forward. Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, with that, we welcome Mr. Gussenberg. Oh, there he is. I thought you were going to be right there.
No, I moved.
That's
I
okay.
needed the introduction to move forward. So.
But it's extremely nice to see you on board with us. And excuse me? Yeah, that's what I said. We're talking to Mr. Gussenberg. Yes, we did. Anyway, excuse me, Mr. Gussenberg. Welcome once again. I know some of us, maybe all of us, are following your meetings, and I was aware you had made a brief presentation of your presentation, and I'm looking forward to it because I couldn't see it on camera. But I know you have updates, and we have actions to do tonight, so I want to give you the floor, and you can do what you'd like to do. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take a look at 3 different things today, this evening. 2 of them are major hires, which will put us in great shape, I think, for moving forward. One is the owner's rep, the other is our CM at risk. In both cases, we go through the same process as laid out in state regulations. The RFQ, well, okay. All right. An RFQ is sent out, and any firm in the state that's interested can apply. We go through those documents, we evaluate them, and by regulations, we can pick anywhere from 1 to 4 to go to the next step. In both of these cases, we chose 3 different firms. Then they received what's called an RFP. They sent some documentation. We checked references. We brought them in for interviews. And unanimously, the group chose the 2 firms that I'm going to put in front of you today. They go through an anonymous evaluation process by the committee members, and the fact that it was a unanimous decision in both cases, I think, says a lot about the 2 particular companies that that we're looking at. So I asked each of them to put together just a very short slideshow, just to give you a feel for the companies. The owner's rep, who will be overseeing the project, is the company of Arcadis. And as you can see from this slide, they are a very well-known and large company.
Can you see it?
No.
No.
Does that tilt
Can we tilt it?
Does it turn?
some so you can see it too? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good for us. Is it good for you, Rich?
Yeah, that's fine. I can see it on here, but sorry about that. I can forward it to you. I
No,
think.
no, we're happy. This is good.
Oh, okay. All
We can
right.
adapt.
But this is a company that has been around for a while. They're very large, but they have a very dedicated staff. When they came in to do the interviewing with us, they came in with 5 or 6 members who are going to be part of the team. Experts in finance, experts with dealing with the state, experts with overseeing the actual construction. And we were extremely impressed with each of them. This is the team. And Rich Sitnick will be coming to all of our initial meetings. But as you can see, just by very quickly looking at their areas of expertise, they are just offering us a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience. They'll be overseeing the finances. They'll be overseeing all of the state paperwork and the process that goes with that to make sure that we're maximizing our reimbursements. These are just some of the projects that they've worked on recently. I specifically visited the one that's on the bottom left because that was also done by our architects. That's a school right now that's being built in Brookfield. It's a new elementary school, K through 5 or 6, I can't recall, for 1,200 students. They're consolidating all of their elementary into one large school. So it was an impressive facility to look at. And as they noted here, they have extensive K-12 experience, an established team. They have worked closely with both our architects and the CM that we're going to be recommending. So we're extremely excited by this company, and we think they're going to be a wonderful asset to us. The second team, there we go, is ONG Construction. ONG is very well known in the state. I believe they're housed in Torrington. In fact, I happened to go up today. A friend of mine is the head of the building committee for a new middle and high school that they're building up in Torrington that ONG is doing. So I asked him if I could come up and take a look at the facility, and some of the ONG people met us up there and we toured through their facility, doing a wonderful job from what I could tell, and they've got a great reputation. So once again, this is a company that's been around for a while, a 100-year-old company, 1,000 employees. They've done projects all over the state. This is the team that will be working. They have a separate team that'll focus on Norton and a separate team that'll focus on the north end, but with people that will be overseeing the entire process. Great deal of experience in all of the different fields. And I think the team itself, the architect, the owner's rep, the CM at risk are going to give us the very best team we possibly could have got. I'm very excited by the whole possibility. Some of the buildings that they've put up recently, but if you look all over the state, they have been involved with construction everywhere. And when we checked references, we heard nothing but glowing recommendations from people all over the state. As they note here, They've worked closely with the state, 13 recent approvals, schools completed 350 plus, and most of those, or a lot of those at least, within the state of Connecticut. And they had a lot of other things that they were offering us, programs with the elementary students, potential intern programs with our high school students, community-wide programs to keep people thoroughly invested and involved with what's going on with the projects. And so again, this was a situation where the committee, after they were done interviewing, went through our evaluation procedure and unanimously recommend O&G construction. So that's the two new firms that we're asking you to put in place. And with those two, plus the architects you've already approved, we will be off and running. I'd like to show you just a few things that the architects are involved with right now. And just to fill you in on that process.
And while he's pulling that out, these documents we have here, copies that we'll pass along here. We didn't have the PowerPoint in the packet.
So this schedule, which is pretty extensive, as you will see, are all of the meetings that Tecton has now set up. And there are obviously meetings with the construction committee, but there are also bi-weekly meetings with a group of school personnel that includes teachers, administrators, central office administrators, as they're going through and working on the design itself. There are planned meetings in here, an update to the Board of Ed, updates for the neighborhood. There's one on May 30th, one on June 1st that are scheduled for neighborhood people to come in and get a feel for where the architects are. And as you follow through, these meetings run all the way through into December. In fact, they even were optimistic. If you look on the last page, they have a meeting scheduled for December 26th and 28th. I don't know that those will take place, but we'll see. So they're working through that process. And what they're doing right now is looking very specifically at all of the ed specs. And this listing right here on the left-hand side are the way that the ed specs look. So they're talking with the staff and they're going through item by item. What should a classroom look like? What should a media center look like? What kind of special ed programs do we need in each of the schools? What are the sizes of those classrooms? As they're doing that, they have put together this graphic just for us to get a feel. This isn't obviously the design, but the sizes are approximate sizes of what we would actually approve in the ed specs. So you can see the classrooms, K1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, off on the left-hand side. Those classrooms are about the same size. And off on the right-hand side, and let's see if I can enlarge this a little bit, you'll see spaces like visual arts, music, the gym, these yellow classrooms here are some special ed rooms. This is all in Norton. The media center, office area, cafeteria. So it gives them a feel for what are the different components that are there. And this big box in the middle is all of the non-educational spaces, the hallways, the wall spaces, all the things that don't actually count as part of the classroom space. This isn't where it would be placed necessarily, but just to give us a feel for it, they then took and put it onto the site to say, you know, here's how it might look. Realistically, these buildings probably are going to be more than one floor, so they would not take up as much space as this shows, and where it's going to be housed on the site yet to be determined. So I wouldn't want to look at this and say, you know, that's exactly where the building's going or anything like that. But it's just part of the process now as they're going and working with people. So that's the Norton site. The North End site is essentially the same. in terms of the classroom spaces that are there, in terms of the core facilities that are there. The big difference is this yellow section to the right-hand side, and that's the preschool, which will have, has a number of needs of its very own. And a lot of our conversations have taken place around, what are the needs of that preschool program and how is that going to be integrated into the school? Will it have its own entranceway? A lot of questions. And this process, as you could tell from the meetings that I showed you, is just begun. We've got a long way to go. And then they took, once again, and put on the site, here's how that may end up looking, with this being Marion Road on the top and Jarvis to the left here. And obviously, we've got a lot of wetlands towards the bottom of this site, so the school will be housed somewhere close to the Marion Road area. And then lastly, the piece that I wanted to show you, just so you had a feeling for the different group meetings that are taking place. And you have a copy of this, I hope, because you won't be able to read it from here, obviously. But for each of the meetings that are on the calendar that we've given you, there is a description here of what we're looking at. So meeting number 5 is on sustainability strategies. Meeting number 6 will be all on the site and what the site should entail. Building systems, lighting, interior, and this has all been broken down by the architects, as I said, from now all the way into the fall, at which point they should be ready to start doing the detailed construction documents. So that's all I have, and I'm open to questions or comments.
So do any of my colleagues have a specific question? Mr. Walsh?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple questions. How did your group decide on the groups that you chose, like R&G and I'm sorry, the other, Arcadis? How did you? Because I see Arcadis is about 122,000 over what our projection was, and the other one was 49,000. And I'm not saying money is like, that's what you're leading with, but I don't know how the other bids came in. Were they a lot lower or higher? Or
Well, let me walk you through the process, and this is, our attorney has helped us along through this whole entire process. Jeff, you feel free to jump in at any time if you want. What we did, obviously, there was a very detailed RFQ, request for qualifications, that is sent out. Each company that has an interest in the project would submit a booklet. Most of those were probably about 50 pages long. And we had anywhere from 4 or 5 in some cases, all the way up to, I think there were 12 or 13 for the architects. Those were given out, and there were 2 booklets, one for the North School and one for Norton. And those were given out to our committee members, and they were given a week to read through every document that came in. So it was a lot of time and effort. Based on that, they came together, and there was an evaluation process that was set up. And Chuck Neff, I think most of you know Chuck, set up that evaluation process. It was done in an anonymous way in most cases, so that each person had a set of criteria and went through and graded that criteria. And then from that, we chose anywhere, as we said, from 1 to 4. We chose 3 that looked like the most positive for us companies. At that point, an RFP was sent out, a request for proposal. Again, a booklet, only this time a little bit smaller, came in specific to our program and what we were looking for. Those, once again, were handed out to the committee. We asked one committee member for each company that we were looking at to call references. Sometimes we got additional references from other members of the committee who maybe have had interaction with other construction sites. And then we came together for interviews. The interviews, once again, as they were completed, each individual person had an anonymous evaluation form that was on their computer. And they looked at each of the major areas that were in the RFQ and RFP and looking at that component and how that would fit. And we had earlier designated what percentage each of those items would entail. That we determined upfront would be 65% of the evaluation. When we went through and did that evaluation, and that was the interviews, and that piece of the evaluation was done in executive session, we then came out of executive session and opened up the cost proposals. So as we were doing the evaluations, we have no idea at that point exactly what the cost proposals are going to be. The cost proposals were worth the other 35%. So we came out, we opened up the cost proposals, we input that into the spreadsheet, and it comes up telling us, here are the companies or the company that was the best value for the town of Cheshire. Not necessarily the least expensive, but the one that the committee liked based on the RFQ and RFP, and with the dollar figure also looked at in the process. So that was the process that we went through. Jeff, did I miss anything?
No, the bottom line is that the procurement process is dictated by statute. The statute specifies at a minimum what needs to be considered. Price is one of the items that needs to be considered, but experience with similar projects, budget management, schedule management, change order management, there's a half a dozen or so items that need to be considered. So what Rich described is a QBS, or a value-based selection process that's based on the statute. It's not lowest responsible and qualified bidder, which is what the standard will be for all the trade contractors that are going to build the actual schools. For professionals, it's more of a quantitative-based selection process, and they decided to weight price 35%, which, I've seen lower than that in other municipalities. I think 35% is pretty heavyweight for price, and the scores that Arcadis received on the other 65% were so favorable that the fact that they were higher than one of the firms didn't result in that firm getting even close, despite the fact that they were low. So
I will point out that the Arcadis number, because it did come in a little bit higher, we went back to Arcadis and we said, what can you do for us? Your number, we love your firm. We've already chosen your firm. Your firm's the one that we want, but can you sharpen your pencil a little bit? And they came back with an additional $56,344 reduction by going through and just looking very closely at everything that they had priced out and wanting very much to keep us happy. So I think, we've got a good deal there, even though they did come in a little bit over what our initial budget was. In that they're at 1.3 and we had budgeted 1.2.
Anyone else? Milo.
I'd like to follow up on that, and I respect the process. I think sounds like it was done quite well. Is there some reason we can't see the fees, though? I would like to see them, even though we're not likely to overrule in any way the judgment of the building committee. I would like to see them. It feels like we're just being, the other fees are just not available to us.
There's no reason why you can't see them.
In the future, can we see the fees? So and I would like to
Fine
see
with
them.
me.
And I respect the judgment. I would generally defer to the committee, but I would like to see what the difference in fees were, just out of curiosity. Will those be available tonight before we act, or are they not available to us?
I didn't bring copies of anything. I don't know if Rich has them.
Let me see if I have.
I think we did have them for the architects.
I don't remember.
I know, I remember a comment that they
I
came
think the
in.
process, and again, I'm not
budget.
disrespectful
No,
of the
no, I
process.
think
and
you're
I'm very-
completely
I think
right.
it's done, I would prefer this process, but out of full disclosure, it'd be nice to see those fees so we know the difference as a council when we spend this money.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I know
have,
we have proposed
I have
fees,
I have a spreadsheet
general construction fees.
that we used with the CM at risk. I don't have a spreadsheet with me for the owner's rep.
Oh, and you're referring to all the fees? Is that it? Not that's just the order?
Well, just the two we're acting on tonight. I mean, those are the only ones that I think I'd be
Just to
I
clarify,
thought
you're
they
referring
were
to the
behind.
competitor fees though, right? Because we have all the
So
fees in-
The three
Yeah,
firms that you
Yeah, the
shortlisted,
other ones.
of the other firms, right? We have the fees for the firm being selected.
Yeah,
here.
because
You're
I
asking
knew
the
those were in the resolution.
yeah, just for disclosure and to observe, not to necessarily change the judgment of the committee.
I have that spreadsheet.
Right, so we could table that item and bring it up at the end if you'd like, and we can make copies. I'm sure Annette can make copies of this one, and I can go into the Google Drive and see do we have a similar one for the
I
other one in the
don't
shared file? I'm
think
not sure
there's
there's.
one exactly like that. That's not the same process. I did a copy paste. I mean, I can show you what I got.
So Richard, we're going to get to this later. So for the owner's rep, were you recommending Arcadis? And I agree, they're a good firm. The fee is 686, right? That's for one, and 635.
Yeah.
What, just out of curiosity, what was the next lowest price or the next firm that was on your selection process? Do you know that offhand?
I have it here for the total. So our
Okay,
case is 1.378, 385.
Yeah.
And the next one is 1.240, 000.
So it's a little more than $100,000
That
difference.
1.37 was before they took off the 50.
Rich, feel free to take the
Yes,
mic.
it was. I'm sorry, yes.
Rich, take the mic because it's that way.
1.32.
Yeah.
Minus
Yeah.
1.24.
Yeah, Don is correct. That number was before they reduced. The final number
So it's under.
was 1.322041.
Now it's 122.
Yeah, right.
It's right 80,000 or so. difference.
Yeah.
No, that's just for order of magnitude. I was curious more than anything.
Yeah, and as I said, then the next closest was 1.240.
And since we'll get into it for O and G, you said you had a breakdown on the.
I
on-
just gave Sean the spreadsheet that I
okay.
had.
Just, again, just so we can see it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That's
other-
that one's a little more complicated because you not only, when you're hiring a CM at risk, they give you a fee, but they also give you a percentage.
Mhm.
And then there were some issues regarding whether all of the price quotes were exactly the same and whether some had excluded certain costs and some didn't. So that's noted on the spreadsheet that we're passing around.
I have one other question on the sustainability strategies, and this is just more for clarification, and I'm not sure if you answer or someone else. Who makes the final decision as to what our objectives are on sustainability strategies? I mean, are we deciding we're going to accomplish net zero? Are we deciding we're going to accomplish something else? And who is responsible within the community for driving that final decision? Is it the building committee? Is it the council? Is it the Board of Education? I'm just curious.
You want to jump in?
Sure. By law, the projects have to be designed and built to comply with Connecticut High Performance Building Standards, which is the equivalent to LEED Silver. Okay? The building committee, in the design process over the next, let's say through design development for sure. So over the next 7 months or so, there'll be a number of decisions that the building committee will be asked to make by the architect that will impact sustainability. Ultimately, it's the building, what sustainability initiatives are incorporated into the project, those are the decisions to be made by the building committee.
But those
That's
will
it, nobody
affect
else.
costs, so you'll weigh whether we can do those within budget and whether there, as a building committee, that's.
Yes, there was extra money budgeted very specifically towards sustainability. That's, in the money that was passed a referendum. We obviously have to work within our budget. So we're going to do as much as we can within the budget that we have. And we haven't really had detailed conversations at this point. We've had some very short back and forth conversations of some possibilities, geothermal versus solar arrays versus, but nothing at all at this point in terms of what we would actually be able to afford or what we can do. The school that I looked at today is basically going with LEED silver. That's what they felt they could afford. I've talked to some others. There's a school up in Mansfield, I think it is, that's building net zero. But, it's a tremendous amount of extra money.
Right, and we're focused on a balance between what we accomplish here and cost, obviously, because
Well,
budget is.
Yeah, and we have had, a couple of members of our community who have come, very interested in that topic that we've had conversations. And, they have pointed out some of the long-term savings, but we also have a short-term budget that we have to work within. So there's that balance that we have to find.
Thank you. Thank you. The short-term budget is equally or more important at this point, so.
Anyone else? Jim?
Thank you, Tim. In your conversations with the construction firms, did you have conversations about whether or not they felt confident in delivering on time based on our schedule? Was there any discussion about, continuing to have supply chain issues and that kind of thing? Or have they mentioned if those things have withered a bit or anything like that?
Well, both the owner's rep and the construction managers felt that our schedule was a very workable one. They are still feeling strongly that we can finish in March of 2006 and be ready to move in over the summer and opening in September 2026. I think I said 2026. They did mention extensively some of the lead items that are going on right now. Switchgear came up constantly. But even when I was up in Torrington today, they had pre-ordered most of their steel work so that that came in earlier and was stored until they were ready to use it. So there are things like that, and they're very aware of the market. They've obviously got a year or more before they're going to be actually putting bids out. So the areas of shortage might not be the same at that time. But in the interviews, they talked extensively about how they monitor the market and the process that they would go through to do pre-ordering so that we didn't end up with delays at the end.
Did any of the applicants kind of present to you their kind of success rate in terms of hitting completion dates?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Did any of the applicants present to you their kind of success rate in completion dates? If they have a number of projects going on, do they hit 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10, that kind of thing?
They indicated that they've been on time all the time.
All the time.
So we'll see how that works. But that did not seem to be an area of concern.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? I had heard from one of your committee members that one of the reasons for Arcadis that seemed particularly strong in their mind, and probably obviously to the group, was the particular interest in finance, that there was a real finance person who seemed not necessarily present in the other selections, or at least is, I don't know if that's so or if that's an interpretation, but
Well, as
I
said,
certainly liked hearing that piece of the news because
Yeah.
that's got to be the hard part.
Arcadis came in with a very thorough team, which not every group did. And they had 6 people in front of us. I think it was 6. and with some tremendous background and experience. One woman really impressed us with her financial background and some of what she's been doing in some of the other areas, other schools. A gentleman who has worked extensively with the state and really knows the people well there and can work around all of the processes and procedures that are up at the State Department right now. People who have worked extensively on the ground, supervising and watching construction. So yeah, when they walked out, we were just extremely impressed by the whole team. But you're right, the woman who was in charge of finance was someone who I thought it was very impressive.
And these are things that I appreciate as an observer of the process and ultimately a voter on small pieces of it that cost a lot, are now relying on because there's a competency level that I think is being demonstrated. I, for one, anyway, feel that way with the group.
And I think if you've got people who can really watch all the details, in the end, you are likely to save a substantial amount of money by making sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed and that we maximize reimbursement from the state. So as I said, we're very confident in Arcadis by the end of that interview.
Excellent. I had one more thing, and it has to do with this schedule, the colored schedule.
Yes.
And it really just some of the groups that are identified, because I know you guys have begun or you want to begin community engagement. I know you're working with some special groups within the education community in town. But I did have, I wondered what the think tank was. Who's
Well,
in the think tank?
Yeah, I
Sounds
can't
so-
give you a full detail.
Oh, it's secret.
Well,
That's
no, it's
usually
not
how it
secret.
works.
I've seen some pieces of it, but it is and
Concept?
it may be that Marlene can give more because I know she's been more involved with that.
Well, I just don't know if we
process,
should bypass you and go to the think tank.
But no, it's a group session. but
Okay.
You
I
wanna-
saw it on the schedule. Come to the mic, Marlene.
Hi, everyone. There will be two think tanks, visioning committees, one for the North End School and one for Norton. And these are really engaging parents, engaging fifth grade students who will be old enough to be able to participate. It's engaging paraeducators, secretaries, school nurses, teachers, Board of Education members, principals. It's really meant to go out into the community a little bit deeper to solicit those kinds of thought-provoking questions about what the vision of the schools is. We have 2 meetings set up, one for each school at the end of May, and those will be about 2-hour sessions. Then the architects will take that information, come back to us in the fall at a date to be determined. We'll take that those second pieces of information again about design and all of that, and then present it to us later on in that year. So that's what I know about our think tank
Well,
sessions.
it sounds more like a user group, like you would have on a building committee by design in our public building commission projects and stuff. There's
Yeah, I
no-
think, they're trying to open
Yeah.
it up for conversation to all different groups.
Right.
But they're also trying to get people to think just a little bit differently
Mhm.
and not to just say, well, this is what my junior high school looked like or my elementary school looked like. We should build it exactly the same.
Right.
But what are some of the possibilities for the way that we structure and organize instruction?
I forgot my audience. Clearly, we are having 2 town council members as well. So Mr. Massiano was kind enough to remind me.
Oh, you didn't see any of us leap forward, so no, we'll be very excited about that. Okay. I really just didn't know, but the rest of it was pretty clear, so excellent. Well, I don't see any more questions. Oh, sure, of course.
Yeah,
Sylvia.
I'm sorry, apologize for being late. I'd just like to make a comment. The level of the information that you're providing us and that's available should be comforting to the town because they're able to see your meetings and see your deliberations. They hear your presentations here at the council. And though this is not our project to design, it is ultimately our project to write the checks, basically. And so it's very important to hear from you and have the opportunity to ask our questions as you go on. So I appreciate the level of detail that you're giving
Thank
us.
you.
We will question you if we have those questions.
Oh, that's fine.
and-
We
but-
do have a Facebook page also. And on that Facebook page, it also notes the secretary of our group and asks if you have any questions or input to send her directly an email that we would read at our meeting and respond to. So I urge all of you to sign on to our Facebook page.
I think it's important that the whole community realizes that they are not excluded from this process. Now, we may not be able to put everybody's first wish into the process, but we are listening at many levels to do that. Your think tank, the council process, your committee meetings. So I'm comfortable that we're being as transparent as we possibly can in the process. Thank
The
you.
other thing which all three of our companies noted when we interviewed them is that when this process gets started, they will be sending a letter out to each of the neighbors that are going to be in that area, making sure that they have a number to call if there's any issues, noise, dust, track pads, anything like that. They're very, very aware of that and want to make sure that they communicate closely with those who live near the construction site to make it as painless as possible.
Yeah, it's critical because this affects everybody, whether you have children in school or not. This affects every taxpayer in town. So everybody has their questions. So
Yeah,
thank
and these
you.
are facilities, and we're trying to build them this way that the entire town can use. So that, obviously the gym, the cafeteria, other facilities can be opened up without opening the whole building. And, there are things that we do nowadays in newer schools that make them much more available to the community.
Thank you all for your hard work.
Well, I always carefully watch the ratings on Channel 14, which you see through YouTube. And I can tell you, you guys are leading in the ratings, and I would expect that to be the case for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So anyway, with that, thank you.
Okay,
You want to hang around to vote? Fine. If not, if you've had many long nights,
no, I will
you
wait.
go
for
home
the-
and watch
I
it.
will wait for the vote. This one's important to me.
Okay, okay. We now move along to new business, and we start with A, which is the acceptance and appropriation of $200,000 from Elam Park Baptist Home to the Cheshire Fire Department gift account. Mr. Bowery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution 050923-2. Be it resolved that the town council accepts a $200,000 donation from Elam Park Baptist Home to the Cheshire Fire Department and appropriate said donation to the fire department gift account as presented and attached.
Thank you, Mr. Bowery. May I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Veliver. Discussion?
The Budget Committee forwarded this to the council for recommendation. It is a generous donation, as Elam Park does every year. It's a $5,000 increase over last year. They feel they are a great community member. They feel the need to do this. They don't have any obligation to do this. It's out of their generosity and out of their mission statement for their organization. And I think it's just wonderful that they do this. I do believe there may be a couple of questions for clarification on some of the donations, but so we'll go from there.
Well, with that, there may be questions as you intimated. You got any, John, specific to this?
I had one. I mean, I appreciate this. I agree with David. This is generous, and I appreciate our fire department's breakdown of the use of these funds, which seems very reasonable to me. I'm very supportive of public safety. I was curious about the large number for equipment, which was be used for fitness equipment, and whether or not, I thought I remembered it last year, and was it Sean? Or were you able
Yeah,
to
you're
find it?
correct. And it's actually a little confusing the way it's outlined in the memo. So I think I was just messaging with our fire chief to confirm I had this right, and I do. If you look at the attached page, so the memo explains and sort of highlights that one of the items under equipment will be fitness equipment. And you're correct, that was also a highlighted item last year, but that is not the entire $90,000. If you go to the back, it's really the last page, the back of the sort of spreadsheet here, or you'll notice on the page before, other equipment has an asterisk next to it, and that's the $90,000. And on the way Jack kind of outlines, that's a little bit more of a catch-all as things come up during the year that he doesn't have budget to fund. You'll see other equipment includes equipment for aerial apparatus, radios, antennas, strobe lights, sirens, tower-related equipment, audio-visual tables, equipment, tables, and rescue tools. One of the components he was trying to highlight was fitness equipment, but it was not. That's just because that was a new item last year, and he's kind of adding some of that piecemeal as older equipment is aged out in the fire department. But that line, that $90,000 is much more than just fitness equipment. So it is a little confusing the way it's outlined in the memo.
So again, what are these line items make up? What makes up the 90,000 here, Sean?
If you go to the very last page, so there's
Oh, the back page.
the
Okay.
very back page. Yeah, other equipment includes. You see that first tab?
Okay, I see it.
Those are other items. And again, there's the way this, these gift accounts have been budgeted with a level of flexibility because these are things that are not included in our operating budget supported by regular tax dollars. So as things come up during the year, a need that wasn't anticipated in the budget or a one-time or an equipment replacement, piece of apparatus, not an entire fire truck, of course, but a component of it if it breaks or something fails. That's this line within this Elam Park budget is where Jack would make that funding available.
I appreciate that clarification, and that's exactly what I was hoping we could get if we voted for this tonight, even after the fact, but it looks like he already thought ahead of that and provided that breakdown, which is very helpful. Thank you.
So maybe from next year, for next year, he won't use the word, power equipment or whatever. He'll use the headline for what it is. That would make sense, right?
But we can certainly request a little more detail.
Yeah.
But again, some of it does
Because
come
that
back
gives
to.
him all the flexibility under one heading.
Yep,
He can add
absolutely.
power equipment to it if he needs to.
There you go. There you go. Add it to the list.
Perfect. It's great. These guys do a great job. Anything else? Okay, it's time to vote on this. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We move now to B, which is the acceptance and appropriation of $200,000 from Elam Park Baptist Home to the Cheshire Police Department gift account. Mr. Bowery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution 0509-23-3. Be it resolved that the town council accepts a $200,000 donation from Elam Park Baptist Home to the Cheshire Police Department and appropriates said donation to the police department gift account as presented and attached.
Okay, we have a second. I guess I saw David's hand. I don't know if I heard somebody else, but discussion.
Just briefly, this also was forwarded from the Budget Committee. Again, every year they donate to both of these organizations. Both of these organizations are critical to their safety, yet they are a non-tax organization, so they feel as part of their mission is to donate to help offset some of the use of services that they are provided for as residents in town here, and I think it's just great.
Excellent. Any questions on this one? I don't want anyone to think that the chief has a clearer picture here because I support both departments equally. So anyway, so if there's no questions, I'm going to call for a vote on this. All those in favor? Vote carries unanimously. Okay, here we go to C, which is the appropriation of $22,000 from the Peck Jones funding to enhance the availability of quality reading materials in the classroom libraries for students in grades K and 1. That would be kindergarten and first grade. Ms. Pavano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution 050923-4. Be it resolved that in accordance with town council resolution 081412-10, the town council appropriates $22,000 from the Peck Jones funding to enhance the availability of quality reading materials in the classroom libraries for students in grades kindergarten and grade 1.
Second.
Thank you, and thank you for that, Mr. Talbot. Discussion.
Yes, in 1945, Annie Peck left her will to the town of Cheshire, and the money was to be used for educational purposes. Since that time, the town has used 4% of the fund balance, actually not the fund balance, but it's the value, I'm sorry, of the balance. And this money has to be used for education, so every year the school is allotted this money to use as they see fit. This year they needed books because of the pandemic and so forth. They needed to replace the materials. Thank you.
Terrific. You want to make any explanation, Mr. Massiano?
Do you?
Need anyone like that, or is everything perfect?
Everything's perfect.
But you came and you're prepared, so maybe you're going to tell us what it's going to be spent on.
Thank you.
So a little thing called the Right to Read Act has come through Connecticut. And as part of our answering questions to be in compliance with that act, along with the fact that during the pandemic, we sent slews of these types of books home with kids because we wanted them to have as much reading material at the ready as possible. Well, these are really little books, and after they've been around the bend for a little while, they need to be replaced. And so we're focused in on our early readers in kindergarten through grade 1. And so we have inventoried every library in the entire district, thanks to some of our fantastic reading and math specialists and Pat Castle, who is our district reading consultant. We've gone through closets and really done a complete inventory of what we need. And from that inventory, we've identified the books that we need, and specifically those decodable books that have certain syllables that we want kids practicing at certain age groups and grade levels. And so this is to replenish those classroom libraries and will really help us in grades K and 1. That's it in a nutshell.
Fantastic. It's amazing such a gift of long ago has gone so far, too.
I know, really.
And it's being used judiciously under a plan now, and that's terrific. Okay, any other comments, questions from the group? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we now move along to the consideration of application for local ordinance exemption, section 17-8, property exemption for 7 Sierra Court. Mr. Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 050923-5. Be it resolved that the town council approves the application for the state of Connecticut local option exemption subsection C of 12-1821 for exemption of property tax for Roger Rua for the property at 7 Sierra Court pursuant to section 17-8 of the Cheshire Code of Ordinances. Mr. Rua has met all the requirements of this statute and has provided all necessary evidence and documentation.
Okay, we have a motion before us. May I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Talbot. Discussion.
Sure. Mr. Rua, last year, Homes for Our Troops built this home for Mr. Rua, who was a disabled veteran. And this is just something that we have in our ordinance that we would provide this tax exemption. We have 3 others, veterans in our town who are taking part of that as well. But I feel this is an important thing to thank our troops, especially those who have been disabled. And Mr. Rua is now a member of our community, and the Homes for Our Troops has built a beautiful home for him. And we hope that he and his family that he's about to raise will have a wonderful life here in Cheshire. And this is one small thing that I think our town can do for him.
Well said, Mr. Walsh. Sandy.
I'd like to say myself, along with some of my colleagues on the council, we're at the ceremony when he was presented, given the fact that he was going to have this house. And I just think it's a wonderful way to appreciate the service that our veterans do. And I'm very proud to have been there. And I'm very glad the town of Cheshire is supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? David.
Thank you very much. I too was at the event where for Homes for the Troops, and it was really a moving event to have an opportunity to meet Mr. Rua and his family, his wife, was really a great opportunity to see, what the service he's given to this country and a sacrifice he's made for this country. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to give some of that back to him. So I'm in support of this as well.
Thank you for that. Well, I'm going to call for a vote on this. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, thank you. We will again move to E, because that's forward motion. Appointment of owner's rep for the New Norton and New North End Elementary School projects. Mr. Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 050923-6A. Be it resolved that pursuant to the final selection of the Next Generation School Building Committee, the Town Council hereby awards the contract for owner's representative services for the new Norton Elementary School construction project to Arcadis in the base amount of $686,134, as detailed in the April 27th, 2023 revised fee proposal. And be it further resolved that the town manager is authorized to execute the contracts pursuant to these awards and the town's bid documents upon the approval by the town attorney as to the form and legal sufficiency.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Talbot. Any discussion? I know we've had a lengthy presentation on it, but is there any final calls on this one? Okay, I'll call for a vote on this. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We now move to,
6B.
oh, excuse me, the second part. Yeah, I overlooked that part. I apologize.
Be it resolved that town council approves resolution number 050923-6B. Be it resolved that pursuant to the final selection of the Next Generation School Building Committee, town council hereby awards the contract for owner's representative services for the new North End Elementary School construction project to Arcadis in the base amount of $635,907, as detailed in the April 27th, 2023 revised fee proposal. And be it further resolved that the town manager is authorized to execute the contracts pursuant to these awards and the town's bid documents upon the approval by the town attorney as to form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Thank you, Mr. Talbot. Any discussion on the motion before us? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we're now going to go to the next motion, which is the appointment of construction manager at risk for the new Norton and new North End Elementary School projects. Mr. Talbot, if I may ask you to read introduce the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 050923-7A. Be it resolved that pursuant to the final selection of the Next Generation School Building Committee, the Town Council hereby awards the contract for construction manager services for the new Norton Elementary School construction project to O&G Industries, Inc., for the fees detailed in the Attachment A fee proposal, and be it further resolved that the town manager is authorized to execute the contract pursuant to these awards and the town's bid documents upon the approval by the town attorney as to form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you. We have a second. Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Discussion? Please.
I just want to let the council know that I'll abstain from voting for this because our firm does a substantial amount of work with O&G Industries. And while it has nothing to do with this, out of abundance of caution, I just won't vote for this.
Thank you for that. And that is important. Anything beyond that discussion-wise? Okay, I'll call for a vote on this. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 8 with 1 abstention. 8-4, that is. Not 8-4, but 8 in favor. Okay, the other part of that motion, Mr. Talbot?
Be it resolved that the Town Council approves Resolution 050923-7B. Be it resolved that pursuant to the final selection of the Next Generation School Building Committee, the Town Council hereby awards the contract for construction manager services for the new North End Elementary School construction project to O&G Industries, Inc. for the fees detailed in the Attachment A fee proposal, and be it further resolved that the town manager is authorized to execute the contract pursuant to these awards in the town's bid documents upon the approval by the town attorney as to form and legal sufficiency.
Okay, we have a motion, a second from Mr. Jinks. Thank you for that. Any discussion? Any?
Mr.
The
Chair,
town
if I
attorney.
could just make a comment, because there seems to be a little bit of confusion about or there was at the building committee level, at least a little bit of confusion about the way the numbers are done. So there's 4 items when you procure a CM at risk. There's 4 items that they're submitting a number for. One is a pre-construction phase fee. That's a lump sum fee that gets billed monthly during pre-construction. That's easy to understand. The second is general conditions. That's a not to exceed staffing cost based on a staffing chart, personnel, position, hourly rates, hours per week. That's easy to understand. There's general requirements, which are reimbursable items, payment and performance bonds, insurances, field office, water cooler, computers, phones, all those things that you need to run a job. And then there's the CM fee. The CM fee is procured as a percentage of the cost of the work. So in order to calculate and compare the fees that were submitted in the proposals by the three firms, we needed to do some math, okay? So for purposes of determining the CM fee dollar amount, we used the same dollar amount, roughly $140 million, and simply multiplied the CM fee, which is 1.55% of the cost of the work for O&G, 1.45 for Downs, 1.95 for Gilbane. So the dollar amount that shows up here is based on using that $140 million. But the reason that it was a little bit confusing at first glance is because in the RFPs, each of the candidates was asked to include their CGL insurance premium and their payment and performance bond premium costs as general requirements. We also provided them with a matrix, multi-page matrix that showed for each type of cost where it should be carried. Pre-construction fee, general conditions, general requirements, direct cost to owner, subcontractor. One of the respondents, Gilbane, specifically indicated in the proposal that they did not include in their general conditions, general requirements, their CGL premium or their payment and performance bond premium. They did, however, provide us with the rates. For their bonds, they provided us with a rate of $6 per thousand of bond coverage. And for their insurance, they provided with us a rate of $9.97 per $1,000. So when you do that math, okay, which you need to do because O&G and Downs included the bond premiums and the CGL insurance premiums in their general requirements. So to equalize and compare apples to apples, you need to add that in. And when you do that, that results in general conditions and general requirements of roughly $7.57 million for Gilbane and a total proposal of roughly $10.3 million for Gilbane. So I just don't want there to be any misunderstanding. O&G is the low bidder, okay? When you equalize the bids of all three firms and you calculate the CM fee on the same cost of construction and you add in the CGL premium and the bond premium for Gilbane because Downs and O&G included it, that's the only way to do it, is to compare apples and apples. So I just want the record to be clear that this sheet shows Gilbane as low at $8,065,000. But when you add that, as indicated in the note, that $2.235 million, that puts them over $10 million, and O&G is by far the low bidder. Okay? Thank you.
Well, that's important. I never would have thought of that. I just, appreciate that. Anyone else need more information on that or? Okay. So that was discussion. It's been seconded. Everyone ready to vote? All those in favor, signify. Opposed? Abstaining. Thank you. The same vote carry then, 8 with 1 abstention. Terrific. We're now going to move to G, which is a call for a public hearing, which I'm happy to do if I can find it. I must have got it misplaced in my stack of stuff. Be it resolved, the town council approves resolution 050923-8, Be it resolved, the town council will hold a public hearing at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, June 13th, 2023 in council chambers, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider submissions to the 2023 Neighborhood Assistance Act program and applications. And be it further resolved that the town manager shall cause a notice of said public hearing to be posted and published according to law. The motion before us, I need a second, please. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. See you later. Next is the call for a public hearing for proposed FY 2023-2024 annual capital expenditure plan. There's that neighborhood one. Here we go. Be it resolved, the town council approves resolution 050923-9. Be it resolved, the town council and the Water Pollution Control Authority shall hold a joint public hearing at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 13th, 2023, to consider the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 five-year capital expenditure plan and annual capital expenditure budget. And be it further resolved, the town manager shall cause a notice of said public hearing to be posted and published according to law.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. All those in favor signify. Motion carries unanimously of those present. The next one is item I, which is the call for the public hearing regarding the closeout of the 2018 Small Cities CDBG grant application process. Be it resolved, the town council approves resolution 050923-10. Be it resolved, the town council shall hold a second public hearing at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 13th, to consider the closeout of 2018 Community Development Block Grant Small Cities Program application and process. And be it further resolved, the town manager shall cause a notice of said public hearing to be posted and published according to law.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. This brings us to J, which is the approval of updated volunteer firefighter pension document. Mr. Villabur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Be it resolved, the town council approves resolution 050923-11, whereas the town sponsors the Town of Cheshire Volunteer Firefighter Pension Plan, and whereas Code of Ordinances, Section 2-131E provides that the town council may adopt and amend retirement plans at any time, and whereas the volunteer firefighter pension plan must be amended and restated effective July 1st, 2022 to reflect town council resolution 121322-8. Now therefore be it hereby resolved that the pursuant to the authority set forth in section 2-192B of the Volunteer Firefighter Pension Plan and Code of Ordinances section 2-131E, the town council hereby approves the adoption of the amended and restated Volunteer Firefighter Pension Plan effective July 1, 2022, in substantially the form attached hereto, and further resolved that the appropriate officers of the town be and are hereby authorized, empowered, and directed to execute and adopt the amended and restated Volunteer Firefighter Pension Plan effective July 1, 2022, in substantially the form attached hereto on behalf of the town, and to take any and all such additional actions as they deem necessary or appropriate in order to implement the same.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Ms. Nichols, for the second discussion. And we do have Mr. Ford in the room as
Great.
well.
Yes,
In case
thank you
Dan
very
wants to
much.
say something after.
Yes, I was just, because this is an important changes to the Volunteer Firefighter Pension Plan as modified, but I'm going to have Chief Ford come up and talk about what that is.
Certainly. Well, first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity just to address you all. Some of the key points with this, just to refresh your memories, one of the biggest things is we dropped the 65 age collection down to 60. It was done for a variety of reasons. One being when somebody goes to collect a true pension, they do that the minute that they retire. Our average age of retirement after a 25 year period is typically around the age of 45, 48 years old. So to have those folks wait yet another 20 years or another 18 years is really not fair to those men and women that are essentially looking for that pension. I've used the word pension a couple times, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this is not a true pension by any way, shape, or form. So, and that's something else that our organization, Cheshire Fire Department Incorporated, in which I'm president, we will come back to you folks at some point just to find a home for this that you just are about to vote on. And then furthermore, maybe just some language. I think the word pension scares people. I understand that, and I'm respectful of that. And I'm open to any questions should you have any. But one other major point that I wanted to cover this evening is the change of beneficiary. So the mindset is the old language, and I stress the word old because it's almost 20 years old. The beneficiary was labeled as spouse. Well, a good number of our members are 20-something-year-olds that don't have spouses. So as a parent of a 20-something-year-old, or going to be two, I would want to be the beneficiary, not anybody else. So these are essentially just a fraction of the reasons that we wanted to do that. We also cleaned up some of the language that was in there, addressing basically everything was labeled as he or instead of firefighter. So those are the types of things that we wanted to clean up. But I'm certainly open to answer any questions should you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Your organization's essential to the town, and we're certainly welcoming of any further conversations, but tonight is obviously not the forum.
Of course.
But we understand the request coming forward, and you should serve it up to me at what time you are interested in getting started on something like that. So we can take it from there.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Anything else, Mr. Veliver?
No, just that this is really just incorporating the changes we've already adopted as a council
Right.
earlier. This is just pulling it all into one document for us to now adopt.
Right. And also further fund it in our operating budget. So with that, I'll call for vote. Vote carries unanimously without asking how we were voting. All those in favor? Thank you. Good. Well, that clears everything up there. Okay. We now go to K, which is the acceptance of the fiscal year 2021-2022 audit report. Mr. Malone.
Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 050923-12. Be it resolved that pursuant to the recommendations of the audit committee, the town council accepts the fiscal year 2021-2022 annual comprehensive financial report, our audit.
We have a motion. I have a second from Mr. Talbot. Discussion.
This is, we just had an audit committee earlier today and received the presentation from our auditor, CLA Clifton Allen Larson. Due to the excellent work of Jim Jascott and his team, we received a very positive recommendation, a clean recommendation, and our committee voted unanimously to accept the audit.
Mr. Jascott, would you like to make some glowing comments about that report? Is there anything you'd like to add?
I don't know if I really need to.
I guess there's not much to say, except there were 3 booklets this year.
No, just reiterate that we had clean opinions on all our grants and internal controls. This was fiscal year 22, so we just got done adopting our 24 budget, so I'm kind of looking backwards instead of forwards, but we had a really good surplus, which, helped us in this last budget process. I'm happy with the way the report came out and look forward to working with them again.
We know we're never putting you on the spot. You guys do a good job. You're essential to the work we do up here. No question about that. So thank you for that, you and all in the department. And of course, our town manager, who is in the department half the time from what we understand. So that's all good. Any other comments or questions or whatever? Could you explain why it was in 3 booklets? Was there a requirement? I saw where there was the Fed, whatever.
No, there's our annual comprehensive financial report, which is the main financial
Thicker
statement for the town. And then there's a separate state and federal single audit, which covers all our grant funds And basically, they're blessing that we spent those monies appropriately in accordance with any of the federal or state guidelines.
Okay. So they get mailed out separately, so therefore they're separate books. Okay.
Right. They get distributed to,
Thank you. I
different
just recall the
agencies.
one book or two books. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Doesn't matter. They were slippery. So with that, I'll call for a vote on this. Motion carries unanimously. We now move to the acceptance of the FY 2021-2022 audit report. No, appointment of the auditor, excuse me. Mr. Malone.
Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution number 050923-13. Be it resolved that pursuant to the recommendation of the audit committee, the town council approves Clifton Larson Allen LLP as auditors for fiscal year 2022, 2023.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion. Thank you, Mr. Talbot. Discussion.
So the only discussion on this is that there was unanimous approval to move forward with a CLA again. They did ask for an increase in their fee over what they had estimated for this year in a previous proposal based upon changing conditions, both in the in general environment and also based upon impacts of COVID, et cetera, on the budget process. And we felt though the additional fee was reasonable and consistent with sound practice, and we agreed that move it forward to the full council.
Anything further?
I don't have anything
Further?
to add to that. No, that's.
Could you just remind me and consequently the rest of us, we went out for an RFP on this when?
So we just finished our third year.
Okay,
And when we did the RFP 3 years ago, it was for a 3-year term with the option to tack on an additional fourth and fifth year. So we'd be going into our fourth year coming up.
is it typical that we sort of follow a kind of a 5-year format? I know the other firm.
Typically, well, we've been on that track to do an RFP every 5 years.
Yep.
And, we don't always make a change when we do that. but
Right.
It's certainly something we would consider, when we do the RFP process.
Understood. Also understand that there's not as many people in the business as there may have used to be, or they're all consolidating. There's a lot of things that affect this.
Yeah.
world.
Unfortunately, there's not as many auditors that are in this work at this point.
Well, it's really hard schoolwork. Yep. Okay. Any other questions? I know I didn't intend to cut anyone off, so, okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Here we're at M, which is a call for the public hearing for building ordinance fees. Be it resolved that the town council approves resolution 05923-14. Be it resolved, the town council will hold a public hearing at 7 PM on Tuesday, June 13th, 2023 in council chambers, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider the amendments to the building fees ordinance, section 3-3. Be it further resolved, the town manager shall cause a notice of said public hearings to be posted and published according to law. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Takes us to N, which is call for another public hearing on the new proposed tax overpayment retention and billing waiver ordinance. Be it resolved, the town council approves resolution 050923-14. Be it resolved, the town council will hold a public hearing in council chambers, Town Hall, 84 South Main Street, Cheshire, Connecticut, to consider new proposed tax overpayment retention and billing waiver ordinance. Be it further resolved, the town council shall cause a notice of said public hearings to be posted and published according to law. And I'd like to correct, that was -15.
Second.
Thank you for that, Mr. Walsh. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. This brings us to the end of new business and on to town manager report and communications.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for tonight, you'll see a little bit of a theme with some construction projects around town. And before I start the report, I'd like to highlight for the council and the public, and thanks to our esteemed management specialist, Noel Shepard, we have a new subpage on our website for projects around town. We're going to be fleshing that out with more information. Currently, there are dedicated links for the Bartlett South project, links over to the full 2 new elementary school projects that's hosted over by the Board of Ed's page, but also frequent questions that I know you all get: paving schedules, state projects, including Route 10 and the wall just over here across from the Hartford Healthcare Building. So again, look for that page, and we'll be adding more and more information there for kind of projects around town. So I'd encourage you to go to that page and share that page as we continue to fill it out. One of the items on there is our library parking lot project. So a major renovation to the Cheshire's Public Library parking lot has started this week. The new arrangement will add more parking spaces, improve lighting, swap the current entrance and exit to allow for safer traffic circulation into and out of the parking lot. Along with the parking lot being inaccessible during this construction time, there will also be closures and reductions in the library's hours. So please be sure to check the website, CheshireLibrary.org, or call 272-2245 before heading over. But we can say, if things stay on schedule, that currently they're doing the library is open this week and next for reclaiming and subgrading, excavation and masonry work. And it's anticipated currently the week of May 22nd to the 27th, the library will be closed for the full paving and miscellaneous items that have to be completed that week. So stay tuned. But in the end, this will be, again, much more parking. And of course, thank you to the council for supporting this capital project a few years ago when we first proposed it. And also, again, look out for the new entrance and exit pattern. We'll certainly have public safety signage and also officer dedicated for those early days to make sure folks understand the new traffic pattern. But in the end, I think it's going to be a great improvement to the library. Speaking of our library, I'm proud to say that the Cheshire Public Library was awarded by the Connecticut Library Association an award in the electronic category for their publicity award for the 80s themed AV studio promotional video that I know many of you saw. They officially received their award this last Tuesday, May 2nd. And we congratulate all of the team at the library for that distinction. A few economic development updates from our economic development coordinator here in the audience. Parking lot paving schedule for May 15th at Ball and Socket property with completion scheduled for June. Bone and Prime has been purchased by a group out of New York with extensive renovation plans and a new name, Butcher Brothers. Richard Chevrolet has received approval for a 10,000 square foot addition to their existing facility. The Brownfield Area Redevelopment Bar Grant that Andrew has spoken many times about has received three planning firm submittals, and the steering committee just last week selected SLR to perform those planning services. 2 Cheshire businesses were honored yesterday by the U.S. Small Business Administration with a team coming from Washington, accompanied by Senator Richard Blumenthal. Cheshire Equestrian and its owner, town resident Carol DiCarlo, received the Connecticut Micro Enterprise of the Year Award, and manufacturer Element 119 received Connecticut's SBA Exporter of the Year. Catherine Marks, SBA's Connecticut District Director, couldn't help but point out that Cheshire is the only Connecticut town with 2 businesses recognized 2 years in a row now. So congratulations to the very deserving businesses here in town. And just a couple of updates from just last night. Planning and Zoning opened the public hearing concerning recreational cannabis regulations. The commission heard from the public, closed the public hearing. Planning and Zoning will be deliberating the application in their upcoming meetings. And finally, Planning and Zoning approved the application for Vessel Technologies for the development of a 71-unit apartment building at the corner of Realty Drive and Highland Avenue. As mentioned before, on Route 10, and I know I've shared this is again available on our website, our projects page. State of Connecticut DOT is conducting milling and paving operations. The tentative paving is scheduled for May 15th. As you see, the milling work has been completed going forward. May 15th, which should conclude by Sunday, May 28th. And also the retaining wall opposite Hartford Healthcare is being reconstructed. This project entails removing the face and cap of the wall, pouring a new face and cap, and the retaining wall is structurally sound, poses no threat of any failure. This work is being performed for aesthetic reasons, and that work is expected to be completed by Tuesday, May 23rd. Just a reminder that 2023 Neighborhood Assistance Act applications are due June 2nd. Again, this is for each municipal agency or tax exempt organization wishes to participate in the program must complete in its entirety, the Form NAA01. Applications again are due on Friday, June 2nd, and must be submitted directly to the town manager's office. Any interested organizations wishing to learn more about the program or have any specific questions should visit the state of Connecticut's Department of Revenue Services website, as the town's role is primarily administrative. And then moving on, our Human Services Department is conducting a community needs assessment as part of the National Opioid Settlement Funds. These are the funds received from manufacturers and distributors through settlements. The Human Services Department is, again, conducting the needs assessment to measure community awareness of the opioid crisis and services available in our community so that we can spend the dollars received in the most effective and impactful way. The assessment is available, again, through a link, survey link listed there in the report and available on our webpage. And finally, the 2023 local paving program, tentative schedule is released here below. This will begin next Tuesday, May 16th, starting with Musso View Avenue. Milling operations will continue for approximately 5 days, with paving starting on Thursday, May 18th, again, all weather dependent. But in the first round, in the coming weeks, you'll see Creamery Road, Mountain Road, Guinevere Ridge, and Musso View as the first priority roads being done, followed by Country Club Road, West Johnson Avenue, and Wallingford Road, again from the locations listed to the right there. And finally, a few upcoming town council meetings, personnel committee, ordinance review committee, and our following town council meeting scheduled for June 14th. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I thought we had, a second meeting in May tentatively scheduled.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a locked-in date or not, but I don't have it on my
It's
list.
floating for Tuesday.
I was going to ask that we hold the fourth Tuesday, as we normally do anyway, to have as a budget meeting of the whole, so that we can review the capital budget items that.
Right, is
I
that,
think
is
going
that
on
the
that.
Tuesday?
That's it, if that's all right with you still, because I think we talked about that.
Well, and we had, and I think we had other specific purposes for trying to, there was policy issues and things like that that had come up. So I noted it wasn't on here, so I think Sandy noted it actually. So I guess you want to get that out then, so everyone remembers it's not that far off.
Sure. So we'll hold, Tuesday, May 23rd is the fourth Tuesday of this month.
Okay, terrific. Yes, Swell.
I just wanted to also mention, in continuing the refreshing of our town council chambers, the front wall had just been done beautifully, and kudos to those who were involved in that. I think it just adds to, it's a great photo op if you ever want to come up here to have a photo taken besides an ugly blue wall, but it's a beautiful look out there, and I thank you for taking the time to get that done for us.
Looks great. Has the town's beautiful seal on it. I sent a note to the town historian trying to nail down who came up with that town seal. Haven't gotten a reply, but she's probably endeavoring all the deep research. Seems as though a lot of town seals were done in the 50s and 60s by communities around Cheshire, the state, from what I've looked at. So we'll see what happens to that. But it looks beautiful. You're right, Don. That was good. Did anyone have a question for Sean?
Just one last clarification. That's June 13th, not 14th. I know we just set about 5 public hearings for that date, but
Okay.
I did say June 14th, so I apologize.
Okay. Forgiven. I had one question, Sean, and I probably know the answer, but I think everyone of us in town has been driving past the Great Wall that no one seemed to know anything about in Town Hall, and that's fine. It's not your fault. The state just didn't communicate the message effectively. But as they move along, we now have a sense that it's going to look like the last piece of concrete was there, at least at the lower level. And my question is this, and if we could get an answer from somewhere, are they going to go and extend that wall upward a little bit before they cap it? And are they going to put a fascia on it that looks like something other than concrete? It almost looks like they intend to put some finish on it. Kind of has a ragged look, but a lot of people have been asking that question, but especially me, and I'd like an answer.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can tell you this project's been a little unique because we weren't informed beforehand that the work was being done. We were as surprised as everybody, and including the other DOT officials that we've been working with for a number of years to try to make access improvements there. And also we've had meetings with the residents there, some initial design concepts that DOT had come up with for different driveway entrance ultimately pedestrian safety improvements, including a sidewalk and a different retaining wall situation altogether. So it does beg the question why this work would be done. And it does seem to be a case of the left hand, not talking to the right hand up there at the state. But that being said, that is very much in its infancy in terms of still in the design phase. Even if they were to have an approved project for that design work, they would then need to go through a funding process, which again, you can imagine is a multiple year process. So the enhancements, the aesthetic enhancements, as we understand them to be, are certainly greatly appreciated. We do still believe, for pedestrian safety reasons, there's additional enhancements that we should continue to urge the state to pursue. And this, I know, has been a conversation for really over the last almost probably over 10 years or longer at this point. Yeah. Mr. Talbot knows well. So I in terms of the specific look of what's being replaced there, I just don't know, because again,
Or how high it's going to go.
or how high it's going to go. So I can certainly find out from our
Well,
town
I know,
engineer
I
as
think
they
everyone's
reach out to him.
trying to find out. I just wanted to put it out there because we are trying to find out.
Yeah, we do have a contact as the foreman for that project, and there should be some design documents we can get our hands on. So.
Right. And I think we probably also understand that any of the stuff done on private property is sort of what you've been talking with residents about. So that's private property. So some of those would be public-private partnership type of thing, or?
Well, it's
give and
complicated.
takes?
It's a state that is the old Route 10 that is now those folks' driveway, and so the state
Okay.
has sort of abandoned its maintenance responsibilities, if you will. But it's complicated. It's not town property, I can tell you that much. But it is not technically private property either. The state has a role, and that's where we've actually had some great design partners. Scott Bushy, who helped with the West Main Street improvements and the trail connection there, he's been really leading the charge to try to get this done for, again, that connectivity and public safety reasons. But he too was surprised at the work being done at the retaining wall. So
Okay. Yes, John.
I'm still confused. So the work, we didn't know they were going to make any improvements to the wall, and they just did, and we don't know if it's going to be faced or it's just going to be concrete still.
I do not know, and no, we did not know in advance. So, but I can certainly try to find
But
out.
there's a longer term visionary project that is still floating around, which
Yeah, that's been in discussion for a number of years now, and I think a recent meeting was held it's probably back in January, I think at this point, one of the first meetings with some of the residents there. There's 5 abutting property owners where the state DOT presented some initial conceptual design opportunities. And it does involve, again, as Tim did reference, there's obviously impact to those existing driveways and how they get to their properties. So they wanted to get their feedback and kind of see where it goes from there. But they are completely separate and distinct projects on the same retaining wall area.
it just seems that now that they've done all this work, it's going to be hard to initiate a new project that might involve replacement. Just it might be nice to just express concern that we, as a town, weren't kind of involved in any of the decision making, or at least informed.
Definitely. Yeah. Mr. Bushy, who we communicated with just last week when we were trying to figure out what was going on there, indicated he still sees the project as very viable going forward. And it is a longer term connectivity issue.
Okay, thank you.
It was interesting. I went to the town engineer first thing, and I told him about it. So, because he hadn't driven south, so no one had seen it. It was that morning. It was basically a morning setup. The cops knew about it first.
It's, it'll hopefully be an improvement.
Yeah, well, they're doing a lot. They're a busy state. Okay, so we're done with that report. So we have our monthly status reports for our review. We've reviewed them, I'm sure. Any questions on those for anybody? Okay, I'll then move on to reports to the council committees. I'll start again on my left. Mr. Felber?
No, we're having a meeting on the 16th to discuss a few items, so.
Okay.
for ordinance.
Okay. Ms. Nichols?
Same thing, personnel's meeting the 16th to tackle some new issues.
I think the solid waste committee will be meeting soon to discuss plans for the bulk trash pickup this fall, and also the NEF fund. From what I understand, I don't know if we've received the check yet, but I did see that Cheshire will be getting $10,200 for the nip bottles that were sold in the past 6 months. So that's, I think, one of the larger checks that we've received so far. So thank you.
Just as I alluded to earlier about the budget committee, keep the 23rd open. Hopefully, we can get a lot of the capital stuff. And then we have the public hearing coming up in June, so we can put it to bed before we all go on vacation.
Exactly. Mr. Mullane, you did your thing.
Liaison tonight, yeah.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to make some referrals. My colleagues were getting nervous because they had nothing to talk about. So I'm going to make a referral for job descriptions to the Personnel Committee and a referral to amendments to the Personnel Rules and Regulations to the Personnel Committee. So no longer searching for some projects. Okay. Okay. Bypassing miscellaneous until I get to the next miscellaneous. We're going to move on to miscellaneous and appointments. Liaison reports. Again, I'll start on my left.
No report.
Come on, Jim.
Well, we're here already. No
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to disappoint anyone. So no, I just want to say that Beautification Committee was very appreciative of the additional budget. I took credit for all of it, of course.
Good. I
and,
fought you on it.
And Public Safety Committee is kind of reformed itself, but they have plans for doing the Bikes for Bells event again, or Bells for Bikes event again this year, because that was well received last year. And they're kind of formulating some other ideas what they want to do for the rest of the year. So that's it.
Terrific. Seems to me I had a question related to that. Maybe it'll come to me after. Okay. Appointments to boards and commissions.
Soon, not tonight,
Really not tonight.
but soon, but not tonight, right?
The town clerk's office has been begging for stuff. You got some?
I have one.
Okay.
I bring forward tonight the nomination of Laura Monti to the Environment Commission. It is a appointment to fill the vacancy of Lynn Dawson, term of office from 5/9/23 to 1/31/24. And Ms. Monti is a Democrat.
Okay. I will note for the record, I believe that's potentially an appointment Republicans may want to make. Is that something I understand?
That's something we've been working on. We have a potential candidate. That's why I said not tonight, but soon. Right. So we might want to table that appointment and bring and
That's fine. I
bring
think
both
that's
of them
fair.
together at the same time.
I think that's
It's a
fair.
Republican seat, I believe.
It is. It was filled by a Democrat, a willing Democrat.
But the term of office. Sorry, the term of office is until 1/31/24 as a Democrat appointed spot. Therefore, if it's a replacement, it should continue to be a Democratic spot until 1/31/24.
That makes sense. Could we leave that until our second meeting and just clarify that with our nominations?
Yeah, as long as we can do it at the meeting of the 23rd or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
Clarify
really
that.
speak to that.
Right, and that could be true.
I can't
We
speak
have
to that.
somebody in the wings to fill that seat, but you may be correct. So let's check with the town clerk and let's check with our.
Unless the town attorney can shed some light on it now.
It's an
I mean,
appointment,
it's a-
it's an
it's a
appointment to fill an
continuation.
unexpired term.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's got to be the same party.
Okay.
Well, that makes it simple.
That makes
It does.
That's right.
Okay,
And
then-
so it's simple enough. We can do it tonight.
Yeah, right.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. That's fine. Then I will second the motion.
Okay. Then, all those in favor, I'm sure the person.
Discussion first.
Absolutely.
So I'm just curious because we did appoint two Democrats and Republican seats to the Environment Commission. Does that have any bearing on this discussion?
Yes, it does. Well, yeah, we appointed them so that those will fill the term that is there. Yeah.
Does that have any, I mean,
Doesn't
I'm
have
not
any-
We had done that
versed in
before.
this.
No, because legally, as Jeff said, this one was appointed to fill
An
The one last
unexpired.
year that we
And,
filled,
right.
fill term,
Last-
unexpired or,
but last year we filled a Democratic seat, a Republican seat with a Democrat.
right.
You also have to keep in mind the minority representation rules.
Right. Well, they already have a majority.
They already have the majority.
They have a majority on.
Right, but there's a minority. How many members on the board?
5, I think.
No, I don't know.
I believe
that.
it's
Are there
5 or
5?
7.
Environment's, I think environment's
Five, so you now have 4 seats? No, you
Three
have
of the
3
four- you have
seats.
three of the
3 of
five.
the seats.
They have 3 of the 5 seats.
And it could be 4.
If we.
According to minority
For a
representation.
for a
it could be
5-member
4.
board, it could be 4, yeah.
The only thing I will mention for public clarification is that the minority representation is a guideline as a state statute. It does not mean that because the majority party on the town council is of one particular party, that every single seat available on every board and commission should go to that political party. It is a guideline so that one particular party doesn't completely fill a board or commission, but there's nothing that says that the minority party on the town council cannot have a majority role on a board or commission. Just for clarification.
Every public agency is different, whether it's an elected or appointed public agency. You could have a Democratic majority on the legislative body that appoints a majority of Republicans to an appointed board or commission. Or you could have a Republican majority on a town council that appoints, Democrats. And it's not unusual that you have in some municipalities elected boards and commissions that are have a majority party that's different than the majority on the town council. So
I believe it's a 7-member.
It is 7 members.
It is
yeah.
7. It is 7-member.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I would, if I can, I think we should table this discussion until the next meeting. So that'll be my I would not really, I think we need to clarify.
Well,
this.
there's a motion to table, so. Motion to
Motion
table
to
is a
table.
motion to table, so.
And it's been clarified by the town attorney.
I don't usually get in the middle of these things, but I have a question. The original person that this person is replacing was a replacement themselves?
No, they filled a seat.
They
Filled a
a
vacant
seat.
seat.
Yep.
Well, a vacant seat, okay.
They filled a vacant Democratic.
There's more to this and it needs to be looked into.
Yeah, we need to table.
And I don't normally get into the politics.
Well, I'm just, I don't like to fight over important people to fill seats, but this seems to be a reasonable question. And there's a motion to table. Discussion's over.
I wish we had more problems with filling seats.
Yeah, right,
Because
exactly.
that's, for a while, we had trouble finding people, so
Okay.
I give
So
people
there's,
credit.
there's no problem. And we will get it resolved by our next meeting, regardless of satisfaction of everyone up here. Finally, we go now to town attorney report. Anything further?
Motion has to be voted on.
Oh, that's right. Motion to take, you are correct. We got pretty far. We got to M tonight or N. So maybe that's why. So we'll call on a motion to table. All those in favor? Yep, motion to table. Okay, motion to table carries 7-2. Motion passes. So now we go on to the town attorney reports and communications. Do you have anything further for tonight?
No, Mr.
Okay, thank you. Okay, very good. Council communications, Mr. Walsh, you had indicated you had a letter.
Yeah, I
to
think
share.
I think you and Mr. Jinks
Yes,
and
indeed.
Mr. Bellver and myself received a letter from a Mrs. Robert Else regarding the Farmington Canal Linear Trail. Do you want me to read the whole thing or just?
Yeah, I think so, because this has
Okay.
been a topic of council
right.
concern. I mean, why not?
It was addressed to Mr. Kimball. Dear Mr. Kimball, I wish to suggest the following solution to the trail's safety problem at the intersection of Route 70/West Main Street. The red button and a large sign should face the pedestrians and bikers from the direction they are coming. The large sign should read as follows: to safely cross this highway, you must push the red button and stop the traffic. When the traffic has stopped, you can quickly safely cross the highway. We have experienced 2 riders in those low to the ground go-karts crossing the intersection without any regard for their own safety. they hadn't pushed the red button and drove right through the intersection as it was a common roadway. They need to know it is a major highway. These go-karts might not be seen if it were not for the red flags standing up on their carts. That's why there is a need for a large sign facing the oncomers. Most sincerely, Penny Else, Mrs. Robert Else.
Okay, yeah, we did. I don't know if it's practical because to me, it sounds like they're asking for a lower light for lower viewing people. I
Are
don't know.
those even allowed on there? Are those the low go-karts?
I didn't get the letter you're referring to. I didn't see
Oh.
it. I didn't get it either.
Oh, okay. Well, mine came to my home. All your others went to 84 West Main Street. Or Main Street.
I think the person referring to a recumbent bike, go-kart.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's certainly at the level.
Yeah, unless it's, yeah, if it's a recumbent bike, it's one thing. If it's a go-kart, it's something a little different. So,
Yeah, you're talking about those bikes, they usually have a big flag that's.
Yeah.
so that-
yeah.
Well, for me, the only question it begs, because I don't think we're going to be able to effectively change anything about that light since it's a state light. Where are we with the chicanes? I mean, we got to buy some of those. We got to do something. We don't have to ask anyone, in my opinion. We got to get them up. And there has to be at least stop signs. And if we have to put 2 stop signs on a stop sign, one lower and one higher, I think that's reasonable. But I was aware of an accident that happened outside of our town on Shepherd Avenue where a driver passed someone who entered the space on a bicycle, and thankfully no one was killed or substantially hurt. But, cops show up, who knows what really happened? I know the outcome, but, these are scary things that potentially happen. And I'm not putting all the credit or all the responsibility on drivers, even though they can do the most harm to someone on a bike or walking. People have to be responsible on our trails.
Just one question. When I don't notice it, but when I walk the trail, do I see that notice to push the button? Is it in a place where I'm going to see it as I approach the intersection, or do I have to come in and kind of look to the side? And
I
see
think
the
you
light,
have to move
know?
a little to the side.
Yeah,
It'd be
I
that
can
way
answer
if it's
that.
in the
Right,
middle,
right. Okay.
so.
I can answer that question because I know my first year here, we noticed when we were down there that however it was first
Yep.
installed, the button was actually facing the street, which sort of made no sense because you're trying to come up. So this request here is for it to come all the way to the other side. We changed it to move it to at least the side. So if you were waiting there for traffic, I mean, most people will pull up and it's right on your right-hand side and more visible.
Right.
For some folks that makes more sense. For other folks, it doesn't. We received the same letter in my office, and I have our engineering folks just looking into those questions and the signage question. And then with respect to the chicane, similarly, Public Works Engineering has that project. I'll ask for a status report and get
Well, I
forward.
had remembered you had told the council in one of your reports that there was a concerned member of some organization with state government
Deep, yep.
that, that thought it might violate some public good. And I can't recall which one it was, but, I don't know if that held it up or if it's just been overlooked, but,
No, we've decided to go forward with the project
okay,
per the council's support.
terrific. Okay, great. Thanks.
The design, I don't remember, it's been a while since we talked about that. The design of the chicane wouldn't impede someone actually on the bike, right?
No, there's design standards with respect to the distance between the two alternating bars. And they're intended to allow for those folks to go through at a slower speed, anybody at a slower speed, assuming that the recumbent bike is able to move in a similar fashion to a bicycle.
Terrific. Okay, no more letters. Now to miscellaneous. No more miscellaneous. So we now go to executive session for the purpose of contract negotiations and land acquisition, and I will ask a motion that would include basically Andrew Martelli, town staff. Jim, I don't think we need you, and town attorney, and presenter downstairs. We will be moving to,
Matt Colauer is the presenter. Yeah.
oh yeah, okay, fine. I knew it was Matt. I didn't know if there's anyone else. He didn't come in here, so Matt Colauer. So we have a motion? Second? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, we're going to exit to room 207. There'll be no action taken after other than adjournment, so we're out of here.